Good morning, guys. We're going to begin our call in just a couple minutes, but I just wanted to open up the room. Melanie, and Martha, and Lacey, and Kim, and John Robert. Jessica. Remember, if you're going to use the chat box, when it says two, drop down and put all panelists and attendees, unless you intend the good morning just to be for me. And then thank you. I'm the only panelist, so only I see all the friendly people saying good morning. There we go. Good morning, Kim. We're going to jump in about 3 minutes. Morning, Ken and Frank and John Robert. Thanks for saying good morning. It is an awesome morning. I drove from Portland to Cannon Beach late yesterday back to the family. So I've been in Portland working, and now I'm back at Cannon Beach with the family. So I'll work here for the next couple days, and then I'm then I'm back to Portland. All right, just a couple minutes, and we'll jump in. Yep, we'll begin our call in just about a minute, Ken. But yeah, we are live. So I'll be really careful what I do on the camera. All right, we're going to jump in. It's the top of the hour. So welcome. I welcome everyone that is on the call. And as we speak, we have a bunch of people jumping in as well. So appreciate everyone being here. It is the first day of May, if you can believe that. We're 2 months past March 1st. We won't talk about why that matters, but it's May 1st, and thrilled to be here for our partner call. Guys, we're going to start our morning just like we do every single Friday. So if you are ready, drop down and you can raise your hand so that I can call on you and unmute your phone. But who would love to start their Friday morning with sharing some gratitude? Maybe it's gratitude for someone within the organization, on the team, someone in your world. Feel free to raise your hand, and we'll get to hear from you. Holly, I will go ahead and start us off.
Well, good morning. Happy Friday, everyone. I am incredibly grateful for our marketing team. They always give us such amazing resources. And as we've pivoted, every awesome idea that we've had for a pivot has impacted their world. And they've delivered at a really high level, from extra coaching sessions to things tied to new lead gen levers. So thank you so, so much to our marketing team.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Holly. George, are you, is your hand up?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Good. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, I'm very excited to show gratitude this morning. First of all, grateful for being a new partner with experience and having the amazing launch experience that I've had. Everyone on the team has been super. I mean, the attitudes, the willingness to help, the efficiency, and I'm just launching a new employee for the first time being with experience. And Chris, thank you so much. And thank you to the team for creating such great systems that actually are making the process fun and
Awesome.
hopefully saving me a lot of grief in the future. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Fun's always a good thing. So if we can have fun while we're doing what we love, man, there's not a whole lot better than that, right? So we're thrilled that you're here, George, and looking forward to a successful launch and then full on orbit. So thank you. Kim Johnson.
Okay. Good morning. I am really grateful for you, Chris, and the vision that you have for the entire organization, for our leadership. At times, I am absolutely terrified with what's in front of me, both building my business and meeting the market where it is. And it's so reassuring to know that we have structures in place and resources that allow us to stay in the game. I am the type of person that will stop and go into analysis paralysis, reading another book, getting another degree, and I won't move forward. So having you and the leadership is like, I believe, what Michael Jordan had with Phil Jackson, or what Oprah had with Maya Angelou. We get just what we need to keep going. We come to the sideline, we get the water, we keep going. Somebody else is designing that play. And if we're willing to show up and to play full out, we can still produce results no matter what's going on. And I just so trust the integrity and Katie Benson. I mean, everybody. You guys are amazing. And I just feel honored and blessed to be a part of the group.
Oh, that is awesome. Thank you, Kim. Thank you. It is a 100% team effort. And part of the team is every one of our agents. So we're thrilled that you're here, and thanks for sharing that gratitude. Gratitude feels awesome, doesn't it? Let's see. Deldy, your hand is up.
Unmute myself. Wow. Okay. So I am so grateful for this past month and really just going through, I think one of my most memorable moments through all of this is going to be going through this with each of you. And with experience, with the leadership team, with place, just all of it. So that's going to be one of my most memorable moments that I'm so grateful for, because it just changed my entire perspective. And also, like, even where we are today. And then I'm also super grateful for Allison Helmer. Today is her 11th year anniversary. We've been saying 12 or 13 years because it has felt that way. I'm so grateful for her and her attitude and being able just to manage the 40 transactions with a 3-year-old by her side, and smiling in the morning and smiling in the afternoon, and our sit downs, and just powering through and putting in the extra work. That's who I'm super grateful for.
Love that. And congrats, Allison, on 11 years with the organization. We're thrilled to be part of the organization now as well. So thank you, Deldy. Let's see, Jeanette.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. I wanted to give a big shout out to all the admin from experience, administrative team and everything that they're doing to support our respective administrative partners. I know I've spoken with a lot of you all, and we're all just wowed by how our administrative partners have showed up. I'll specifically say Talon and Melanie and Hillary as our new DOS. They are completely transforming their days from where we were 6 weeks ago, with added social media, marketing pieces, touches to clients. They've taken a crash course in Facebook Lives and Zooms and putting content together. They've become art directors, production assistants. I mean, you name it, they have shown up and done it, and done it very well. And that takes a lot to get out of your comfort zone. It takes a lot to read the minds of the rainmakers and know what the vision is. And it takes a whole lot to connect with our clients in an empathetic way, while still having a call for action. And so I just want to say thank you for all the admin out there.
Awesome. I love that, Jeanette. None of us would do what we do without them. So, and I think, something that you shared, and then we'll have one more grateful, but something that you shared is relevant to every single one of us. If you feel like you're learning new skills right now, you are. If you feel like you're getting crash courses in multiple topics right now, you probably are. If you feel like you're being developed, and if you feel exhausted at the end of the day, understand we are more tired when we learn new things. We're more tired when we do new things. We're more tired when we do things that are uncomfortable. It is a good sign at the end of the day, at the end of the week, to be tired. So thank you, Jeanette, and thank you to all the ops and admin for sure. One more grateful, John.
Hey, Chris. I have two, one's a specific, one's general. The specific is for Marley. She's been phenomenal she does the Monday stand-ups for the company-wide stand-ups on Mondays because we have our leadership meetings. And then she jumped in and led Wednesdays while we were at Gary Keller Mastermind. So I just want to say thank you to Marley. She always jumps in and always willing to help, not only just her launch groups, but the entire organization with those stand-ups. So thank you, Marley. Another one is just a general gratitude for everybody that reached out to me personally. Had some pretty bad news on Friday last week. So I just want to say thank you to everybody there.
Awesome. Thank you, my friend. Let's switch to values real quick. Every week we revisit our values, and it's some of our teams have our own value statements. Obviously, we have our organization value statements, and I think it's important every single week and really every single day to revisit what grounds us as an organization, what grounds us as a human being, what grounds us as a team and a group of people. Let's talk about our values. Our values are built on that main value of growth, and each one of those letters stands for a key value for us, which is giving, relationships, opportunity, wealth, thanks, and humility. Where did you see any one of those values demonstrated this past week? Katie.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. I got a report from one of the partners who was on a couple different hangouts this last week, and I won't mention her name, but she basically said that Philip Gazka and John Robert were really intentional about pouring everything that they knew around the two topics were, I think, circle prospecting and FSBOs. And she gained a lot from that. And I just wanted to recognize both Philip and John Robert for growth and giving of their time, giving of themselves, giving of their knowledge, and being willing to, I mean, it's never easy to like role play in front of a group, and yet they put themselves out there, and that right there is growth. So I'm just grateful for both of them and wanted to recognize those values showing up in our world because of them.
Awesome. I love that, Katie. Thank you for sharing. Martha.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can.
Awesome. You know what? I'm actually following Katie. I think I was that person that spoke with her about that. And it was coming back to what she said with Philip and John Robert. Just wanted to say thank you so much for giving of their time. I want you guys to know that I actually implemented one of the things that you guys taught us on those hangouts, the circle prospecting and the FSBO, and just had really great results. I really appreciate them giving of their time. So thank you so much to Philip and John Robert.
Love it. Love it. One more, and then Martha, I'm going to call you back in just a minute. John.
Hey there. I just, so this is demonstrating, absolutely demonstrating the giving of their time and the opportunity, honestly, like leadership track opportunity. We had a special hangout on Wednesday with Carissa and Trevor, and the two of them have done a great job at creating local business support groups on Facebook. And between the two of them, I think they have 15,000 local businesses on their Facebook pages that they've started, and are just really creating an amazing community and really supporting their local businesses. And then for them to be able to pour into our organization and show everybody exactly how they've been doing that, the tactics, the wins there, and how they're using those channels, I just thought was really, really awesome. And these are two people in our organization that we don't necessarily see a lot of in terms of hosting hangouts and doing that. And I just thought it was really amazing to see them step up and lead one of our hangouts this week. And it was an incredible value. I had a lot of people reach out to me about it, saying how great it was. So I just wanted to say thank you so much, Carissa and Trevor, for really leading that charge. And then also Todd, a shout out to Todd for suggesting that we have a hangout on that. So just appreciate all of you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, John. All right, we're going to jump in and just have a quick conversation with a couple of our partners. About 2 weeks ago, we took a step back and said, each one of our teams has an environment and has a solution to show up and lead gen, right? Every day, every morning. And that's really been a non-negotiable. 2 weeks ago, we did a session on our Friday call, and it was entitled, "Let Me Tell You What to Do." And we talked a little bit about that, right? How it's not super comfortable to be told what to do. No one really loves to be told what to do. And that might be evidenced by how many people are showing up to our Power Hour. However, there's been a couple people that have just said, you know what, you told me what to do, I'm going to do it. And now let's look back over the last couple weeks and see what's happened there. What can we learn from allowing ourselves to be told what to do by an organization or a team or a leader that we came to and said, hey, listen, I'm looking to make some changes in my business. What should I do? So Martha, you're on the call?
Yes.
Awesome. So we have had 9 Power Hours since that announcement was made. How many of those have you been on?
I've been on all 9. I missed a half hour of one because I was on my coaching call, but jumped right back on.
9 out of 9. I will take that and bet on that and bank on that all day, every day. So congrats for literally just for showing up. So let me ask you this. It's a new hour in your schedule. How have you adjusted to make sure that really nothing is getting in the way?
Chris, John does the daily stand-up right before, and I just make sure that little break in between, I just go get some coffee, get right back on, and I wait for that so that I close the door to the office and nothing interrupts that. I've gotten so much value out of it that now it's just, I lock myself up and we're on for that hour.
Yeah. What happened before that? Like, what was going on in that hour, maybe before the institution of Power Hour?
We're getting hit with a lot of training from different directions. So I was jumping on, whatever next training was there, whether it was from the office or outside of our group, or I was like, oh, okay, well, just kind of, let me, at home, everything is a distraction, so I was doing something else. With that conversation that you brought to the table about, just allow yourself to be told what to do, I took that to heart. And Marley getting us on there and just seeing everybody on there, it's just a great push to get me to do it.
Yeah. It's interesting. Sometimes we can get stuck doing things that we think really matter, right? Training, we have been told to quadruple training, right? And there's no lack of it in the industry right now. And at times we will convince ourselves that it is important, it's necessary, and I need that right now. And at the end of the day, what we know is if we can control that morning, if we control what activity things will happen. So let me ask you in general, and I don't know the answer to this, but in general, is behavioral change easy for you?
No, it's not.
Okay. So if it's not, um, then what changed? What needed to change in order for you to make a commitment to block that hour, make the calls, like change your behavior in that period of time? What needed to change?
Big part of that was mindset, but the other was really the commitment that I've made to to Katie, more importantly to my team. I've come on board with 2 other agents, and I need to lead by example, and telling them, hey, we've got to get on and do our calls is just not enough. I need to show up, and I need to make sure that I'm doing it with them.
I love that. That reminds me of Churchill, right? The lesson of Churchill that says that that ultimately the leader has to, one, get into activity, but also lead from the front, right? Ben Kinney shared that with our group, leading from the front, and what that means. What has it done for your energy level, do you think, that 1 hour?
It has really, really helped. Just getting done with the hour, and usually it's an hour and a half, a little bit more. It makes me feel accomplished. I've done the hardest part, the biggest part of my day is done. And now we can move on to, whatever else we've got going on for the day. And I make calls, I leave messages, people call back throughout the day. So it kind of continuously gives back, if that makes any sense.
No.
Somebody will call back, they'll be happy that I reached out. And that just gives me a lot of positives throughout the day.
Love that. Love that. Maybe last question. Just in a quick glance as you look back over those nine hours, if you will, those 9 days of commitment, what has it transpired into your business? What has it turned into?
Yeah, this I'm really excited about. I've taken 2 listings that are signed. I've got 1 more out for signatures, and working on 1 that will hopefully be signed this weekend. And we've got 3 buyers in getting qualified. So super excited about that.
So let me ask you this. What's your average sales price?
Out here, about $350.
Okay. So you have 3 listings, 1 potential more, but let's just call it 3. And you have 3 buyers that through your calls are getting approved, right?
Right.
So let's just say you don't close all of those, but only 5 happen. That's about 1.7 million in volume. And let's say you're on average between those buyers and sellers are getting 2.5% commission. It's $43,000 in commission, and it was 9 hours of commitment, which means your hourly wage between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. has been $4,861 an hour. I think you're doing pretty good with a little bit of commitment and behavioral change.
Wow.
Nice job, my friend. Appreciate that. And I appreciate your commitment, right? Leading from the front and encouraging all of us to show up and just allowing ourselves to be told what to do. Thank you for sharing, Martha.
Thank you, Chris.
Absolutely. One more quick conversation. Todd, are you on the call? I think we can hear you now.
There you
Perfect.
go.
Hey, Todd, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. So remind everyone where you're at, actually.
I'm in Bend, Oregon, just down the road from PDX.
That's right, in the sunny part of the state of Oregon. So let me just go out and say that to me, you have shown up incredibly different in the past couple weeks. What changes have you made in the past couple weeks in your business and in yourself?
Oh man, I cleaned up my work environment. It's been kind of a work in progress for a while, eliminating distractions. I got a great place to set up shop here at home to make my calls, to do my work. But I had too many things that just allowed me to get distracted with comps, MLS, follow-up phone calls, things that pop into my mind. And I really had to make some real intentional changes to kind of clean that all up.
Okay. So would you say maybe the biggest changes for you were environmental? And that could have been physical, right? Physically, your environment, your space, if you will.
Yeah, I believe that's true. I also had a moment too where I walked into my garage one day and I saw a couple for sale signs leaned up against the wall, and I thought those things look a lot better in somebody's front yard than in my garage that I have to walk by every day.
Amen.
And it was kind of a moment where I said, I need to get back on the phone and start capturing inventory instead of having inventory of real estate signs.
So let me ask you, how has the habit of just controlling that hour helped you?
Oh, it's big. There's a lot of peace in it. You know, I'm prepared. I have my list. There's no questions around what my morning's going to look like or who I'm going to call. When the light turns green, I just go.
I love it. Now you made a call the first, and so everyone knows, right? You're 9 for 9. Not that we're counting, but you are 9 for 9 in power hours, and you made a call that first. I think it's the very first power hour. Who did you call, and what happened?
You know, I had a list of FSBOs leads, and Marley said, you know, who are we going to call? And I said FSBOs, and she said, get a listing or else. No, she didn't say that. But I said that I was going to call my FSBO leads, and the fifth call that I made that morning was a listing appointment.
Love it. Love it. And you know, it's interesting. And what's your average sales price, Todd?
My average sales price, you know what? I should calculate that right now because I'm not sure, but I know that in the last 30 days, I closed the deal 2 weeks ago for 785. Monday I closed the deal for 407, and I've got one closer for 266 in the next 10 days or so.
Yeah, I think when I calculated it, you were just about 430, right? 430, 435.
Yeah.
So again, we have to look at our time and look at the return on our time. There is nothing better we can do than control an hour, right? And turn that hour. In MREA, Gary said, you know, there's a myth, and the myth is that time is money, right? Sometimes we get into just movement and right, that's a New Yorker's expression. Our New York team can appreciate that in Westchester, right? Time is money, time is money, time is money. But the fact is, Gary said, no, it's not. But time is convertible to money. And what I see people doing in Power Hour is converting their time to money, right? Converting their time to money. So you are a perfect example of that. Let me ask you one more question. What needed to change in your morning, right? What was it? Schedule? Like, what changed in you over the last 2 weeks?
You know, little tiny wins create momentum. It's kind of an adrenaline rush. And that last listing that I took, the first morning it went live, I woke up and had 4 text messages from agents that wanted to show. And then 8 days later, we had an offer, or we accepted an offer. And I had to make that first call. And then the second call, and then the third, and then I just started getting some momentum. And as I got through that first hour of calling, then I kind of got into a rhythm where I didn't really want to put the phone down. I wanted to just stay in the game because I never knew what that next call might look like. It might be another listing.
Yeah, I love that perspective. And guys, see, the rhythm doesn't happen. That energy doesn't build if we don't start our morning off the right way. In fact, I would argue, and we all get there, Todd. I would argue that prior to this rhythm, it was easy for you and anybody else here to never build that rhythm if we didn't start the day right. In fact, what happens is, and Cal Newport talks about that in his book, Digital Minimalism. Cal Newport talks about the distraction that starts in the morning will continue through the rest of the day. However, the rhythm that starts in the morning of productivity, right? Martha talked about, well, you know, I make that hour of calls, and guess what happens the second hour and the third hour and the seventh hour of the day? People actually return the call. So that rhythm is so critically important. If you're on a team right now and haven't been 100% committed to your lead gen time, get committed, right? It isn't a time in our industry or our business to show up uncommitted. Like, we are an organization and we are teams built on commitment. The other thing that thank you, Todd, by the way, the other thing that I pulled out of our just short conversations today is we're showing up for multiple people, guys. You know, first and foremost, you're showing up for yourself in that hour in your lead gen. You're truly showing up for yourself. So if you are worth it, show up. And I believe that all of you are worth it. But see, we're showing up for each other as well, right? We're showing up for the other people that show up for Power Hour. It's a lonely place if it's just me, right? If Marley opens up the room and it's just Marley, like, show up for each other, show up for your team, right? And honestly, at the end of the day, we're showing up for our clients as well. So I just wanted to have that quick conversation. The results are showing up for those that are committed. I might just throw out one more. Frank Ubaldini, 9 for 9, by the way, 9 for 9. So we'll talk to you soon as well on the call, but to just appreciate the absolute commitment of people showing up. All right, we're going to transition and we're going to talk about our May initiative. Every other month or so, we run a company-wide initiative, and that initiative is a production initiative. The goal is anything we're going to talk about is going to be productivity based. In May, we are going to run an initiative, which is an appointment a day in May. An appointment a day in May. John, are you on the call? Can you walk us through what our intention is going to be as of, well, today, May 1st?
Yes, indeed. So thanks, Chris. So as many of you guys know, in our company-wide stand-ups this week, we started to have a slightly different message. And that message was pivoting from defense to offense, or moving from that survival mode that we've been in, and now it's time to start thriving, right? So as we transition into that defense to that offense, we need to start transitioning from the care calls to consultation calls, okay? This is the reason why an appointment a day in May initiative is so critically important, because as we start to transition to those consultation calls, we're going to start getting appointments. So we thought we'd make it fun and have an initiative around it. So again, appointment a day in May, that is the goal for every single one of our partners, every single one of our team members. What that equals is about 5 appointments a week. We'll give you the weekend to rest, or you can take Monday and Tuesday off if you want to for appointments, whatever you choose. So that's 5 appointments a week, 20 a month. Now, guys, don't stop at 20 a month. If you're on a roll, do more than 20 appointments in a month. So just simple math on that, right? So let's say that we did commit to appointment a day in a May initiative, and we looked at 20 appointments. And I'm just going to go off of some really basic averages. This isn't rock star averages. Let's just say we converted 20% of the appointments that we win on. That means we would take about 14 listings or buyers. Let's say only 60% of those actually close, right? For that blended average. That's an additional 8 transactions in your world by just committing to a month of focusing on appointments. Now, for a lot of people, those extra 8 transactions would equal, you know what, I hit my bare minimum, right? Like, this is my financial thermostat. I hit my bare minimum cost to live, versus those extra 8 transactions, which could actually equal you hitting the goal that you actually set out for the beginning of the year. So if you're maybe a little bit behind, please just commit to this process, and commit to the idea of having an appointment a day in May. So what we're going to do is, or what we've done already is, we are going to create a point system around this. So we are pulling from the daily trackers that you fill out anyway. Each appointment that you go on in May will be tallied and counted as just 1 point. And we're going to be looking for, and we'll have a scoreboard posted on our portal. That is under the productivity tab under production initiatives. Everybody will be able to see where they stand and rank. And those, again, are just pulled from your daily trackers. So if you're going on appointments but not tracking them, then, sorry, you're not going to show up on the scoreboard. So make sure that you're tracking those. What we've done surrounding this appointment a day in May is we've put together, and thank you so much for Dawn and Alexandra and Nald and everybody that's really helped come together on building out a really dynamic resources page on our portal. So on our portal, we have, under the resources tab, there is a new section called virtual real estate. And that's really our response to COVID. So we've gotten anything that we're now doing virtual in terms of open houses or our appointments now, we have a ton of resources on the portal. So I want you guys to go and check out the resources page, and under that tab, click on virtual real estate. What you're going to find there is a ton of resources for the listing presentation. You're going to have the listing presentation completely scripted out. You're going to have links to Hangouts around the listing presentation. There's links to videos of Chris and I role-playing the listing presentation. We've created a seller or a listing agent instructor's guide to the listing presentation, where we pulled out every single question that exists in our listing presentation, and we put it in a question format to where you can just go through, make sure you're asking all those vital questions in the presentation, and you have a space for notes. So there's a lot of resources available for you. Now, okay, that's great. We have resources, but how are we going to get that appointment a day? All right. I want everybody, if you're taking notes, we need to focus on what are our key targets. So if I'm shooting for an appointment a day, I need to make sure that I'm targeting people that have their hands raised, right? So who has their hands raised right now? For sale by owners do. Listen to Todd, fourth call, listening. Expireds, right? They're still out there. They're still happening. Expireds and cancels. Plus, trust me, there's a lot of agents that have actually suggested that they have their clients take their home off the market. We've been scripting through on why that might not be the greatest idea. So don't forget about those expireds and canceled. Virtual open houses is another place where you're going to be introduced to buyers and sellers that might be looking to transact now. In PDX, we've been double ending our listings through the virtual open houses. So if I'm looking for an appointment a day, I'm going to nail those as well. I wanted to give you guys just a really quick conversation to have. This is just a tactical approach and a conversation that you can have while you're shooting for your appointment a day in May. So I want to have a conversation really quickly about, and we had talked previously on some calls about having a baseline conversation with our database. So the goal here is to really pull up every single past client that's been a buyer. So, right, you sold them a home and now they're a homeowner. Follow up with every single past client that you sold a home to. And I don't care if it's in the last year or 5 years, but we should be having some baseline conversations in terms of the value of their home since they bought it. That's going to let them know what what the appreciation's been and what their equity position is. So for instance, so if you've already been having baseline conversations, then your follow-up might look like this. Or if you haven't been having a baseline conversation, then your reach out would look like this. So what we want you to do is just pull a really quick glance appreciation percentage for your area. For example, this doesn't have to, I'm not saying pull up a CMA for every client right now. Now, if you have the time and want to do that, great. What I'm saying is let's start the conversation with something like this. So for example, in Portland metro area, we've been seeing over the last 3 years about 5% appreciation. Some years it was 6, some years it's 4, it's 5, whatever. That's about a 5-year, year over year, the last 3 years. So if I have a client that purchased in the last 3 years, right, in the Portland metro area, generally speaking, they've probably seen about 15% increase in terms of appreciation. So on a $400,000 home, they're looking at about an additional $60,000 in equity. All right. So now I've established what the equity position is for my client. Now I want to just follow up with a really quick call to them and just say, hey, look, hey, Stacy, I just wanted to call and reach out and let you know that I've been really watching the real estate market lately, and there's actually some really good news. And I know good news is hard to find right now, so I wanted to make this call. We've seen about 5% appreciation year over year in the Portland metro area in the last 3 years since you bought, which means you could have about $60,000 of equity in your home. I just wanted to check in and see if you happen to need that equity or if you had any plans for that equity. Just a quick check-in. That, we don't know. What if they lost a job? What if they need to relocate? We might be catching them at a really good time where they need that equity. Or what if they're fortunate enough to actually have a good job, right, and see opportunities in this market for that equity and turn that into, right, more than just that $60,000 in equity. Maybe they want to invest that equity, right? So very simple script, and just wanted to give you guys a direction if you guys needed some help with some of those appointments. Very easy to set up a really quick follow-up appointment with your client with your past client to go over that, right? So I wanted to give you 2 quick pro tips as well on how to. So we're seeing virtual appointments being set. However, we're seeing a lot of those not be attended, and there's a few reasons why. So I wanted to give you guys a couple of pro tips on how to make sure you get in a virtual appointment to stick, given what's going on right now. So we need to transition from our lead generation calls to setting an appointment in the future to saying, hey, why don't we just set an on-demand appointment and meet right now? What's happening is people are home, there's 1.5 million distractions, and they're forgetting about the appointment tomorrow. Now you have them on the phone and they're engaged now. Why not just say, you know what, I've got 20 minutes right now. Would you like to sit down and talk through this? So set an on-demand appointment instead of setting it later. You're already on the phone with them. Why not just open up a Zoom room, right? Appointments right now should be easier than ever. The objections to drive into the office or whatever that is, we can just do it right now. So we should be able to actually set more appointments than we ever have before. So this is like 20 appointments should be fairly easy. I know you guys think I'm crazy. The other thing that I would say is that what I'm finding is that if, and we're typically, right, this is new normal, kind of a switch conversation right now, but you know, we always say protect our mornings and schedule our afternoons, schedule our appointments in the afternoon. You know, I'm going to say something a little bit different to that right now. What happens right now is that think of the consumers that are there, and in their mornings, right, they're full of energy, they're ready to go to conquer the day. 9 o'clock, oh gosh, I gotta do this parent schooling thing. I've got to hop on 7 Zoom meetings. The last Zoom meeting wasn't super exciting, and then oh gosh, I have to meet with this realtor at 4 o'clock today. Like, oh my, like shoot me in the head. I'm just gonna no-show because I'm not really committed to that person. They kind of called me out of the blue. So what I'm going to suggest is set your appointments for 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning. I get it, right? That we have stand-ups and lead gen, but play around with that time. And I guarantee you're going to get more people showing up to morning appointments than you do afternoon appointments, given what's going on right now. So play around with that. Those are 2 little pro tips on how to get the appointment to stick. I'm going to wrap this thing up. Chris, thanks for the time. So you guys have probably already seen in your inbox now an email, which is basically like a save the date for our, piggybacking what's going on with our May initiative. We are also challenging all of our partners and team members to actually videotape their presentations, their buyer consultations and their listing presentations, and submit them to their coaches. Or if you're on a team, submit them to your directors of sales or your team leads. We're really auditing and really getting into making sure that everybody's set up for success with their appointments. We can't swing and miss these days, so we want to make sure that those are on point, and that we know that you guys understand virtual appointment and consultations at a high level. So starting May 1st, you're going to get another email in your inbox from Carter in the coaching department with some instructions, some resources that you have. We're going to be randomly pairing people up with a script practice partner, and we're going to be videotaping those consultations and listening presentations and submitting them to the coach. We're going to have some fun with that as well. So you already have a save the date, and just watch out on Monday. We're going to have the detail, and that's going to start May 1st. And so keep an eye out there.
Awesome. So the wrap up of that, guys, is this: our goal for an appointment a day in May is to take a step back and think about all the calls that you can make, right? Who has their hand raised, right? FSBOs have their hand raised. Past expires and canceled have their hand raised. Honestly, every buyer in your database has their hand raised right now. Those equity calls are truly gold, right? Those equity calls, those good news calls, those are an appointment, right? So set an appointment to go deeper if they want a real CMA done, right? As we set up those appointments, those virtual appointments, they don't need to be more than 20 minutes. It is easy to knock out 2 or 3 appointments in a day without jumping in your car and walking them through the neighborhood, right? Pulling up your screen, pulling up the comps on a Zoom and walking them through. It should be a lot easier to get those appointments in as long as we're starting our day with the call. So thanks, John. Look for that instruction via email, also on the portal, as you know, and we'll jump in as of today, set some appointments. All right, we're going to transition, guys. 2, maybe 3 months ago, I told everybody that my focus this year for our organization was to get us to truly understand behavioral change. And here's why I know, and I've said it 100 times, why I know that is in fact a competitive advantage is because the only thing standing between us and ridiculous success is our own behavior. So as an organization, if we could begin to change that behavior, adjust that behavior, or coach our people through behavioral change, then hands down, without a shadow of a doubt, we will win. So I wanted to talk about behavioral change. I shared this on, I believe, just briefly on yesterday's webinar that we did, moving from surviving to thriving. And if you didn't get that, and I hope most of you didn't watch it live because we have it recorded, we'll get that out. but Jim Quick, in his book Limitless, we talked about Jim Quick 2 weeks ago on our call, or maybe a week ago. He said, right now, a lot of people feel like they're boxed in. Anyone feel like that? Right? We might feel stuck in our box. It might be right our 9x9 or 10x10 bedroom that we're working out of. It might be we feel boxed in financially. We're stuck in this financial box, right? Maybe we feel in a box within our relationships right now. Maybe our health goals. We feel really stuck in this box. Jim Quick says, in order to break out of that box, and remember, just as way of reference, Jim Quick is probably the most prominent brain coach out right now. In fact, right, I shared one of his premier clients that swears by his ability to help him through learning faster and thinking better is Will Smith. But his model, Jim Quick's model to break out of any box comes down to 3 M's. The first one is our mindset, guys. Ultimately, he said it's what you believe to be true. We could have the greatest methods, we could have the greatest teachers. If you don't believe you are capable to execute those methods, well, you never will. If you don't understand what your truth is, then you might as well just hang it up, right? Just stop there. The first one is our mindset. If we don't believe that there are sellers waiting for your call, if we don't believe that there are more buyers in your marketplace than you could possibly work with right now, I promise you, I've seen the numbers. There is not one market that has fewer buyers than you can handle. There's not, right? 486 homes went pending in Portland last week. We can't handle all of those. I wish we could, right? What is your truth? That's the first M. That is the first dimension to get us out of that box, right? To break through that box. The second M is motivation. Now, a lot of people hear the word motivation and they go to seminars and get pumped up and, right, they hear people speak and they get all motivated and inspired. I shared on a couple webinars this week that when someone comes up to me and says, gosh, that was really motivational, or gosh, that was inspirational, that to me is somewhat of an insult. And here's why. Because I don't believe my job is to be motivational or inspirational. Because here's what happens with that kind of, quote, motivation. You go home or you hang up and it's gone. That's not motivation, that's excitement. And there are some phenomenal speakers and trainers, and I'm thinking of few, even in our company, that are incredibly motivational. But the fact is that's excitement. And we can get our excitement elsewhere. Motivation comes down to why we are doing what we're doing. What truly is your internal motivation? We're going to talk about how to figure that out in just a minute. So the second dimension of breaking through any box that you feel that you were in, and some of us might feel we're there right now, is motivation. First one, mindset. Second one, motivation. The third one is methods. And that's just strategies, right? It is taking a step back and saying, okay, well, if my mindset's right, my motivation is right, then I just need some methods to execute. Guys, you're all here, right? There is no lack of specific method on how to succeed. Now, whether you execute that method comes down to your motivation, right? Whether you commit to that method comes down to your mindset. Whether you believe that method to be true, like look at the two that we interviewed today. 2 weeks ago, we said, no, 2.5 weeks ago, we said, guys, we promise you, if you do what we say you should do, you will be successful. I don't know about you, but I'll take $4,100 an hour, right? I'll take 3 listings and 3 approved buyers in 9 power hours. Like, mindset was right. Motivation was right. Method showed up. Here's Jim Quick's formula. You know, I'm a fan of formulas. Jim Quick's formula for sustained motivation is this. If you're writing it down, it's P times E times S3. Okay? P times E times S3 equals sustained motivation. Here's why I love formulas, because I like models, right? If someone says this equals that, this activity equals this return, right? This script equals this appointment, I'm in, right? We all need formulas in our life. So P times E times S3 equals sustained motivation. What does that stand for? Purpose is the P. Purpose times energy times S3, small, simple steps. You know what? I'd love to roll out a 3-hour power hour, but that isn't small and simple. It's 1 hour, guys. Purpose times energy times small, simple steps equals sustained motivation. Why? Because see, if we're not winning, if we bite off everything and we're not winning, we will not have sustained motivation, right? The people that bit off that 1 hour, 9 for 9, that's sustained motivation. Mindset, motivation, methods. Now, here's what's so interesting. If you have 2 of them, mindset and methods, if your mind is right and your methods are there, that's ideation, right? Those are people that have great ideas. Now, if you have motivation and methods, that means I'm motivated and I'm knocking. P is purpose, Alex. I'm motivated and I have the right methods. That means that's implementation. I'm an implementer, right? Ideation, implementation. But when all 3 are there, I have the mindset, I have the motivation, right? And I have the methods. That's integration, is what he says, which I love because we teach about an integrated life. When all 3 show up at the intersection of all 3, that's integration. We all need all 3 right now. We want you to be motivated, right? Find your motivation, revisit your motivation. Some of our team leaders, right? Some of our leaders have asked some of our people to revisit their motivational interview. Why? Because we want to step back in and say, well, gosh, if your mindset is right and the methods are here, then why are we not showing up? It could have to do with our motivation, guys. If we are motivated and the methods are there, then it might have to do with our mindset. And if you think, no, I got the right mindset and I am truly motivated, then we just need to open up and submit to the methods. Those 3 will be the difference between those that stay in a box and break out of that box. If you feel you are in a box right now, it's one of those 3. Maybe it's 2 of those 3. Maybe it's all of those 3. Then reach out to your leader, reach out to your coach and say, hey, walk me through this. Walk me through this. Here's what Jim Quick says. He says, the life you live are the lessons you teach. The life you live are the lessons you teach. So that's congruency, right? I can't teach one thing but live completely different. Is that fair? But see, all of us are teachers, right? All of us are either part of a team and we're teaching those around us. All of us are, right? I shared a funny picture with John and Katie and Holly and Dawn. My wife, I was in Portland. My wife was in Cannon Beach with the kids on, I forgot what night it was, Wednesday or Thursday, while I was working in Portland. They were here. And my wife sent me this picture. And my 8-year-old decided that she missed me that day for whatever reason. And so she decided she was going to be me. And she went into my closet and found my dress shirt and put on my dress shirt. And she found my shift book. And she picked up the broom. And she said that, my wife said that for about an hour, she swept the whole house, right? She cleaned. And then she sat in my chair and was just like flipping through shift. Now, here's what's interesting, right? That's because the life you live are the lessons you teach, right? People watch what we do, and that's what we teach. The average human being has about 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day. And most of those thoughts come in the form of questions. Think about that. 50 to 70,000 thoughts, most of them in the form of questions. So Jim Kwik's entire program of coaching the brain and behavioral change has to do with understanding what recurring questions show up. What are our dominant questions? Guys, I want all of us to think about that today, this weekend. Maybe get some white space and think about what are my dominant questions? What might that dominant question be? Now, that's a deep study, right? He works with people for months on end to dive deep, but we can do some self-reflection. What questions do we ask ourselves a lot? Is your question, can I do this? Is your question, am I going to make it? Is your question, is this the best way that it can be done? Is your question, will my parents be proud? Is your question, am I good enough? The majority of our thoughts are questions, and those recurring questions will have a dominant question. And the dominant question becomes our focus. Now we need to be careful. Dominant questions are some of the most important things in our life because it leads us towards our focus. So he gives an example. He gave an example of Will Smith, right? Will Smith's dominant question. I'm going to give you that. I think it's a really powerful one. Will Smith, when he started coaching Will Smith said what they found out is Will Smith's most dominant question is, how do I make this moment more magical? It's a pretty awesome dominant question, right? And you can see that, right, in his energy and his attitude and just, right, even from the screen to us, like, how do I make this moment more magical? That is his dominant question. But then Jim Kwik says, see, my job as a brain coach is to develop meta questions that makes that dominant question even better. For instance, he said, I had Will Smith begin to say, how do I make this moment even more magical, right? What word changed? Even, right? How do I make this moment even more magical? Which presupposes that the moment was already magical. And he's making it even more so for those around him. See, we need to figure out what our dominant question is. Remember, 4 weeks ago, we shared that the brain is wired how? How's the brain wired? Raise your hand. Who remembers? What percentages? Anyone remember specifically? Alex.
Isn't it 74% of it were wired negative?
Yeah, 75% negative, 25% positive. Guys, think about that. Thanks, Alex. Think about that. If we don't control our dominant question, many of us live with a negative dominant question. Dr. Daniel Amen, we've talked about him before. One of the greatest brain doctors of all times, right? Currently still practicing in Southern California. I was introduced to him by Brendan Burchard. Brendan met him after Brendan had his brain injury while he was writing the book, The Charge. And so I had breakfast with Brendan and Dr. Daniel Amen one time. But Jim Kwik actually quotes or talks about Dr. Amen in his book. Dr. Amen has done over 175,000 brain scans, and he calls those negative thoughts ants, right? Ants, automatic negative thoughts. And he says, Dr. Amen says, if you ever are around him and he's talking about the brain, he says, kill the ants, kill the ants, which sounds terrible because ants deserve to live, right? They do a lot of good, but not in our house. But he says, kill the ants. We have to kill the automatic negative thoughts. We oftentimes program our supercomputer or our brain through these negative thoughts. We tell ourselves what we are and what we're good at and what we're not good at. Ask yourself, do I need to reprogram my dominant questions? The most important thing about changing perspective, Jim Kwik says, is the place you're in or the place you're at. Remember what Todd said earlier? Gosh, I recognize the one thing standing between me and Power Hour. The one thing between me and that morning appointment was what? Environmental change. The place he was at. changing the place you're at allows you to shift your perspective and how you think. You know, what's interesting is when Ben and I got together and engaged so many of you actually around our new platform and around our new brand and around the name, we knew one thing: it had to have real meaning. Some of those meanings we knew when we named it Place, and some of those meanings we are finding. Our organization is perspective shifting, isn't it? Jim Quick says one of the only and most important ways to shift your programming and your questions is to shift your perspective and how you think. Change the place that you were at, he said. It reminded me of Ants's automatic negative thoughts. Yeah, thanks, Adelina. This conversation reminded me of Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein said this, and if you have a pen, I'd write it down, because it doesn't matter who we are, doesn't matter what we're accomplishing, doesn't matter where we're at today or have been, it doesn't matter what we thought our future was going to be tomorrow. Listen to this. Albert Einstein said, the same level of thinking that created your problem will not solve your problem. We all have problems, guys. In fact, that's the nature of business, is to solve problems, right? Some of us need to solve our own problems, but the same level of thinking that created your problem will not solve your problem. So why do we get stuck believing that we can figure it out on our own? Why do we retreat and isolate when we have problems? The same level of thinking that created your problem will not solve your problem. Fair? Thoughts or ahas from this conversation around behavioral change, breaking out of your box, and actually finding your dominant question. Who wants to share? Katie.
That section around the life you live or the lessons that you teach, I mean, that is so powerful on so many levels, because it really speaks to the fact that habits, what our habits are, what we may even be unconsciously executing on a day-to-day, down to the thoughts that we're having, are actually creating our reality. And it's good news and interesting news at the same time, because the good news piece of it is, if it's all created in your head, well, you have control over that. You can change it. You don't have to be stuck there. I just thought that was incredible. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. John.
I really liked the questions determine our focus. Like that was important to me. So that really made me think, so what questions am I asking myself? What questions am I asking my clients, the agents? Just how important that is and how that will lead us towards our focus. I just thought that was really powerful for me.
Yeah, awesome. Anyone else? Alex.
I really loved Ants. I'm struggling through Power versus Force right now, and that kind of put a little bit of perspective on, and the mind and everything. So that I really like that.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Alex. Guys, we'll wrap up with one thought from Churchill. All right, we have been, our organization has been just really diving deep into his leadership lessons and where he's at. One of his leadership skills, one of his greatest skills, was being able to define victory. All of us need to define what victory is. Some of us are here because we liked the definition of victory. Our definition of victory aligned with our team's definition of victory, or the organization's definition of victory. But Churchill says that people will head towards something clear. People will always move towards something clear. They need a vision of what victory is. So the question is, do we have a clear picture, right, of what victory is for us? In the moment, we have to play the long game, right? We have to deal with delayed gratification. The long game is critical. However, the victory needs to be day by day. What is your victory today, right? What do I clearly define as winning the day? We use that expression a lot in our organization, right? Win the day, win the day, win the day. But then we said win the week, win the week, win the week. We have to win the day to win the week. Churchill had a huge advantage. I shared a few weeks ago on one of our calls that although he grew up in a very, very wealthy family, he was raised really by his nanny who really brought him to experience what it was like to be poor, right? He grew up around working class. But interestingly enough, when he did, one thing showed up in his world, that people were motivated by building a better future for their children, right? His victory was very, very clear. It was a better tomorrow, a better future. And then Churchill was able to take that better future and clearly define how they were going to get there, right? Interestingly enough, that's our definition of leadership, is us understanding what your preferred future is and then us showing you what that path is. The problem is we got to stay on the path, guys. We got to do the work, guys. We got to say, hey, here's my preferred future. I am convinced our team, this leader, right, can bring me there. Stay on the path, right? Churchill defined victory and brought people down that path with him. In fact, one of my favorite parts is him saying that they were moving towards, right, their preferred future, and he always said, "This is our finest hour." The world was literally falling apart around him and outside of his country and inside, and he said, "This is our finest hour." Why? Because he knew the path to victory. So, guys, this is your finest hour. Right? That isn't meant to sound motivational or inspirational. It is your finest hour because you have a path. You know the steps to win. Then it's just us reconnecting, right, with those 3 things that will break us out of the box, right? Are we focused on our mindset, our motivation, and our methods to break out of that box? All right, guys. It's top of the hour. You've spent an hour with us. I appreciate your time. Thank you for all who shared, whether it was thoughts about the call, answers to questions, Todd and Martha being willing to jump on and share as well. Appreciate everybody and the collaboration. If you need me, you know where I am. Let's make it a great week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Chris.